Hello, wildlings. I'm your Creepsmith, and you found my Fear Forge. Lucky you. Since the dawn of our species, humanity has been, in part at least, identified with our facility for and dependence on technology, the tools we use to interact with our world and each other. There's always been a special place in society for those who make new tools, the engineers, the inventors. Well, in tonight's tale, we find one such person making such a tool to enhance, well, you'll find out. Tonight's story, The Machine, by nihilistic novelist. My grandfather was an inventor, and a skilled one at that. Over his lifetime, he accumulated over 40 patents that allowed him to live quite comfortably after his retirement. After he did retire, he was able to focus on inventing stuff that he enjoyed and, found interesting rather than stuff that would earn him a paycheck. Naturally, his wife and our family supported the viewings of his latest invention, even though nobody really found them very interesting. But we loved being around him and took every opportunity to drive that short distance to his house to see him. Now, he wasn't just brilliant. Grandpa was also gifted with exceptional social skills, as well as an intimidating IQ. He was the kind of guy who put a smile on everyone's face. The kind of guy who everyone seemed to like. The kind of guy everyone wanted to be around and to be like. I was no exception. One day, we got a phone call from my grandpa inviting us to the viewing of his new invention, his life's work, he calls it. The invention that he's been working on for the past 20 years is nearly complete. He says that it should be done in a few more weeks, but he just wanted to inform us how close he was. Then he hung up. We would have dinner at Grandpa's house once a week, every week, and in the weeks leading up to the viewing, he was ecstatic. He would prance around the house with a smile from ear to ear seemingly stuck on his face. His laugh was louder. His food somehow tasted better. Everything about him echoed happiness. And then it stopped. A few days before the viewing was supposed to take place, we got a call. It was my grandfather. He tells us that the viewing is canceled and so is dinner for the week. And then he hung up. After the phone call, my grandpa is a ghost. He doesn't pick up for any calls. He doesn't visit our family. He won't allow us to visit him. My grandmother's worried. She doesn't know what's wrong either. My grandfather, the man who used to be the life of the party, was now a reclusive old fart who never left his room. The inventions which he took so much joy in creating now gathered dust in his workshop. So one day, the phone rings. I pick it up to hear my grandmother sobbing on the other line. It's my grandfather. He's hung himself. Didn't even leave a note. My family went over to the house to help my grandmother clean, to get rid of a few items that Grandma doesn't want around anymore. My father assigns my siblings and I all the rooms to clean. I get the workshop. I walk in, and the place is shrouded in a haze of dust. Relics of my grandfather's creativity are scattered everywhere. Each of them is adorned with their own layer of dust, so I grab a few items, I throw them in a cardboard box. I'm holding them tucked between my forearm and my hip. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be cleaning, so I look for the most dusty items first and I throw them in the box. Each item that lands, it produces its own little cloud of dust. In the corner of the room, I see an object concealed under a sheet, the way you see those cars before they're unveiled in the movies. And out of all the things in the room, it's the least dusty. So I walk over to it. I hesitate for a moment before I pull the sheet from the object, revealing what's underneath. Underneath this sheet is a chair that looks like it could be a futuristic version of the electric chair. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. It's made of metal, like some type of chrome. It shines so bright that you have to squint your eyes when you're looking at it. In a way, it seems to give life to the lifeless room masked in dust. It's tall and intimidating, with cords and wires reaching around from the back to plug into some sort of helmet on the front of the chair. And from the helmet, some kind of looking glass hangs. It's like a combination binoculars and some sort of retinal scanner that you see in the movies from the future. I see this throne, crafted by my grandfather, and instantly, I know what it is. This is the machine, my grandfather's life's work. I hesitate for a moment. I take a deep breath, and then I take a seat in the chair. It's cold and uncomfortable. I think twice before pulling the helmet over my head, but I do it anyway. I pull the looking glasses to align with my eyes, and I wait for something to happen. Nothing does. I turn to look around either side of the chair and see a small switch. I flick it opposite of the way it's facing, and then pull the helmet and glasses down to my face once more. This time, there's a flash. It's more subtle than I would have expected, but still reasonably bright. It's a flash about as bright and loud as you would see given off by those cameras back in the 30s. A single flash, then nothing. I get out of the chair, move around. Nothing's changed. I thought whatever machine my grandpa had been working on was broken, and that it simply being broken is what caused him to be depressed leading up to... However, upon seeing my father enter the room, I knew it had worked. And I knew exactly what it had done. The machine that my grandfather had crafted, his life's work, is like any other machine on the planet. It allows you to see people, to see who they are, completely without any deceptions. It allows you to see their soul. The visions you get come to you the same way a daydream does, two separate universes bleeding into the same reality. When you see a person after you've used this machine, you will never see them the same way again. You see the good and the evil at the same time. The disturbing part is how little good there is compared to the evil. Anywhere you go, you're surrounded by monsters instead of people. Wolves in sheep's clothing. Each person you cross is a terrible fabrication. The man who lives next door touches his daughter every night after his wife goes to sleep. The mail carrier? She's an alcoholic who beats her wife after she gets home from work. That person you just passed, walking down the street, that's a serial killer. Everywhere you go, you're haunted by these mythological creatures surrounding you. But that's not what drove my grandpa mad. That's not what caused him to take his life. Because the scariest thing of all isn't what you see when you go outside. The thing that haunts you the most is what you see when you look in the mirror. Ouch! Hey, no one ever said that a clearer view of reality would be pleasant. At least now we know how the author came up with that moniker of his, right? Stay scary, wildlings. Remember, when it comes to the nature of inherently flawed beings, or as I like to call it, the nature of the beast, too much truth can be a thing. And make the most of your nights.